Hi, this is Dr. Adam Stewart, and I'm here to give you another behind the scenes look at some of the invisible work that family doctors are doing these days. And this is a bit of a soul crushing example related to the recent Ozempic shortage. So, for those of you who might know or not know, Ozempic is a common diabetes drug over the last few years, also used kind of off label in weight loss. And it's been a very successful and effective drug. Many people are on it for either diabetes and or weight loss, mainly diabetes. But it was under back order and a shortage over the last few months. Currently, I'm recording this video. It's February 2024. So from about November till now, there has been a shortage. So back in November, I actually wrote an email to the government, the premier, my MPPs, the OMA, and I wrote, in anticipation of we were seeing the shortage coming, that we have this one drug that was many people are on, and there were people with diabetes. We were going to have to try to figure out alternative solutions, and there are a few other solutions. So what I actually had to do, I'll show you. In my spare time, I went and made all these notes of Ozempic and kind of the notes of the alternatives, what was covered, what wasn't covered. And it turned out, as you dive into all these details, that some are on back order as well. Some of these options were no longer options. But the options that were available, like even Rybelsus or Victoza or Saxenda, were not covered under the Ontario Drug Plan. So what happens is you're either going to get patients going without it that can't afford it because the government wasn't funding it. So, and if we were to try to get some of this funding, we'd have to do all this extra paperwork in these special circumstances to get things like this covered. So I preemptively wrote an email asking, letting people know of this situation. 5% of the population is probably on Ozempic, and that this was going to result in thousands of phone calls to family doctors' offices who are already swamped these days in the coming weeks. And I offered a simple solution: just cover the alternatives, just make it easy, right? So by the way, it's 2 months later. I never heard back from the government, but fortunately, there was some coverage for the oral formulation of the medication temporarily, or I think it's still going on. But what then happened is Ozempic started coming back into manufacturing. So we were able to get some. The government put what's called a limited use code. So instead of just writing a prescription for a medication that we know a patient needs, some of these medications are only covered by the Ontario Drug Plan under certain circumstances, and they need what's called a limited use code. So we need to write on a prescription what the actual reason is, to verify that, for example, that a patient is on this medication for diabetes and not, say, weight loss. So here's an example of a fax that starts coming into our office. But to complicate things, they only were covering, if you look at Ozempic, there's actually 3 different pens that come in for different doses. So like there's a starting dose, a medium dose, and a later on dose, let's just say. But they started out, but they only covered one of the doses. I can't even keep this all straight in my head, but I think it was the 1 milligram, not even the starting dose. They were going to cover the medium dose. So this limited use code started coming out. So we get the paperwork that looks like this from the pharmacy. So this here, here's some options. Here's the drug, giving the Ozempic, the specific doses or size. And here are some options. And by the way, instead of the pharmacy just being able to automatically apply these because the patient's been on it for diabetes forever, the family doctor that has to sort through all this paperwork and do it. So, okay, they've got this code on LU666. Limited use code 666 was the one that first came in. So in a chart, I would have to go, okay, rewrite my Ozempic prescription for, and I'd have to write limited use 666 on it. And, I write 1 box or whatever and some refills. So then I go and I fax that. I fax that to I'm not going to fax it here because it's just a demonstration, but I fax that, right? So That's fine. We had to go redo all these prescriptions that hundreds of people were on. But that only covered apparently like I think the 1 milligram doses, as I was saying. So then later on, once we get used to this, a few weeks later, once we're used to using this LU666 code, we got to remember that in the back of our heads on top of all the other things we have to know. Well, no, they came out with another code, and I started getting faxes that I would write 666 on it, or 667. Sorry, it was 667. I think was the first one. And but then we started getting these other ones saying, oh no, 666 doesn't apply. You got to use code 665. And if your head's spinning, that's exactly what's happening for all the family doctors too. So instead of Ozempic has these different concentrations and different pen sizes, and they were making new pen sizes, a 3 milligram pen or something, a 3 ml pen to have a larger supply for patients. I don't know. I can't even keep it straight in my head. But we started getting these requests. So it's like, okay, well, no, this prescription that I just did for the LU666, nope, the pharmacy has to write me back with something like this saying, nope, that doesn't work. You've got to put this other code on it. So that was confusing for a bit. So then I have to go back into my chart, do all this paperwork, go and manually change this. And again, something that should be automated, right, by the pharmacist or the government. No, family doctors have to do all this paperwork. So I got to go redo that and re-fax that to the pharmacy. Okay, so just to really make your head spin and complicate things, going back to the Ozempic example, there's 3 different pens, different concentrations, different volumes and things. And instead of just having one simple code, they actually have, the government has come out with, because there's 3 different, I don't know, volumes and concentrations and doses, they've got 3 different codes that we doctors have to keep somehow straight in our head. And I'm just going to show you this for comparison so you can see, because I still don't even understand and can't keep it straight in my head. So here is what we family doctors have to wade through in the background of our busy days. Let's try to minimize this stuff so I can show you guys. So 665, 666, 667. Now notice how they all look very similar, all the wordings and stuff. However, what's different is I've highlighted in red the concentration is different, or the size of the pen, 1.5 mil versus 3 mils. So this is the paperwork that we have to keep straight in the back of our head in the midst of our busy days. It's crazy. So what I do now is I've just kind of resulted to, when I have to write a new Ozempic prescription, I have this saved as a favorite. I just have it 666, 665, 666, whichever applies. Let the pharmacist sort it out. But again, this is neither. If you really wanted to simplify family doctors' work, one, you just wouldn't even have all this paperwork. You would just have, okay, I as a family doctor know that my patient with diabetes needs this prescription, Ozempic, and I should just be able to write a simple prescription and have it covered and not have all of this extra paperwork.